Hello everyone, and welcome to the Sign in POP World webinar session. I hope all of you are staying home and staying safe. As we know, today's session is on the evolution of modular signage system and soft signage, and the perspective is being given by Ms. Tejasa Purandare, who's the director, CoSign India Private Limited. So before the session begins, as we know that a lot of people have been introducing themselves, so I would ask you to continue doing that. And Ms. Purandare is going to give a presentation, and after that, the session would be open to Q&As. So if you have a question, you can just type it in the chat box below, or you can raise your hand, and your questions will be taken one by one. So Ms. Purandare, over to you now.
Okay, thank you, Supriya. First of all, a very good morning to everyone. I would like to start by thanking the Sign and POP team for this wonderful effort of arranging this knowledge sharing series and getting the entire signage industry online. I would also like to thank each one of you for finding out time and connecting today. As we all know, the signage industry is a very creative industry, and we provide very customized solutions for each of our customers. So the client perspective has always been very important for us. If you look at the global organizations today, they are also focusing to be more client-centric. And if you think from the client perspective, for them, the entire experience, it is not just the product or the service that will count. So in first part of my session, I will take you through a very interesting tool, which is user journey mapping. And in the second part, I will discuss two touch points in this user journey. One of them is modular signages, which is my forte. And I will also discuss the very upcoming soft signages. Is the steps that the user goes through while interacting with different environments. And user journey map is a diagram which will depict this user journey which the user is taking. So in the user journey, there are different phases which get covered. So if we would like to take an example of a mall. So when a user or a buyer is entering a mall, the first phase is discovery. So he tries to find things around, that is discovery. The second phase is experiencing it. So he will go through the shopping experience, or he will go through, if he wants to go to the food court. So this is actually experiencing it. And in the third part, which is very important, the user is taking a call on whether he will want to revisit or not. And this is the phase in which long-term loyalty can be built. So apart from these different phases which the user goes through, a user journey map will also cover the goals and the feelings of the user. So apart from this, the user journey map has different touch points. Now, these touch points are the points where the interaction will happen between the user and the surrounding. So since we are working on a very interesting digital media, we have tried to make it a little interactive by including polls. So I will take you through a quick poll where I will like to know your opinion on what can be the touch point in a mall. Since this is the first poll, I will like to put it up, say for 15 seconds or so, because it is a very simple and a warm-up kind of a poll. Supriya, could you help me launch the poll? Supriya? Yeah, sorry. So the poll has got launched. Let's give it a quick 10 seconds. So the question is, which of these is a touch point in a mall? I think is going very quick. So let's close it in another 10 seconds or so. We have currently around 30% people who have voted. Okay, I think we have gone up to more than 41%. So I'll be ending this poll, and now you can see the results. So 81% of you have correctly voted that it is a signage or a display. So this is the current segment that we all work in, and it is one of the major touch points if you go for a journey in the physical world. Now I will quickly take you through the different steps of doing a user journey mapping. So there are basic 6 steps for a user journey mapping. The first one is very important because in this you need to define the persona, or you need to define the user who is experiencing. So if we again go back to the example of a mall, there can be different kinds of users. So it can be a visitor or a buyer, it can be a staff in a shop, it can be the maintenance team, it can be the housekeeping team. So each user will have a different user journey. So it's very important to first define that which user are you currently working for. Each user has a different goal, and each user will quickly try to reach the goal when he reaches the environment. So after understanding the goal, it is very important to list the touch points. Now this touch points list will essentially give us all the signage locations, and it will also give us the quantity of signages which will come in the project. After deciding the list of the touch points, then we can identify the elements that you want to show. So this can be infographics, or these can be the text which you intend to put at each location to guide the different users. And then it is very important to take the user journey yourself. So I will show a map after this of how it is done. And once you take this user journey yourself, you should assess if the correct information is coming at the correct location. And in case it is not, then you can make the changes in the final step, and you need to add or edit information or remove misplaced information and correct your user journey map. I will take you through a very small video which exemplifies this well.
Tejusa, I think there's no sound in your video, so you'll have to start the sound, please.
Okay.
Can you just restart?
Yeah, sorry, I'll do that again. There's just a background music, but let me check and do that again. Yeah, sorry, I'll start it all over again. Yeah. Yeah, so I think what we could see in this video is that with the, sorry. So we can see in this video that with the enhanced user journey, or minimizing, sometimes too many signages is also not good. So with optimizing and placing at the correct locations, the user had a better experience. So now we are discussing the user journey touchpoint signage. So after quantifying it, what we can do is we can divide it into different categories. So directional signages essentially are which tell us how to reach a particular location. So these signages will mostly have arrows. If you look at identification, these are to identify different locations like your food court, play areas, washrooms, and this will be placed typically at the location. Now, if you look at informational signages, they will give you typically a list of products in the shop. They will give you a list of shops on the floor. They'll give you a list of the doctors. So these are mostly directories. If you look at the next category, it's safety signs. So they will help you in the emergency evacuations, and the regulatory signs, which will be situated inside the premises, will help you guide the people about the speed limits, the parking zones, etc. And the final is the branding and advertising signs. So these are typically used for sales, product USPs, offers, and other things. So this also makes the signage BOQ very precise in terms of classifying them. And you could also put numbers and make it more properly organized. So I have made a very short user journey for a mall. It will of course be more elaborate, but since we are connecting on a platform with limited availability to explain. So if I look at a buyer who will enter a mall, when he enters the mall, the first signage he will see is the main signage. Then he goes to the parking lot, where he sees the parking symbol, the pillar signages, way to the lobby, directional signages. When he goes to the lobby, then what is visible is the elevator sign and the mall directory. Then further, he goes into the lift. Again, you have a mall directory where you can choose which floor you want to get into, and there are different promotional posters. Then if you go to the floor, which is the intended one, there again, you will see a map where you can find the shop that you intend to visit. En route all this, you will have different banners, different posters, facility signs, promotional signs en route. Once you reach the shop will have an entrance sign, and it will also have different kinds of promotional signages inside it. After your shopping experience is over, then you might want to visit other activities like the food court or the gaming zone or certain theaters. So the other activities can be taken care of. And then you go back to the elevator, back to the parking lot, and then you exit the mall. So this is a typical way a user journey can be mapped. I've also mapped a very short journey for a hospital, wherein this journey is for a patient who is coming for a regular checkup. So first, the hospital signage that is visible. Then you go inside, there are different wayfindings which are there, which help you associate which department or building that you intend to get into. Then you go into the parking lot where the parking signages are prevalent. After that, you move to the reception where you see the doctor's directory, where you see different directional signages, where you find the way to the medical stores, elevators, exits. Then you go to the particular department that you need to go. In this department also there is a reception to guide you to the various OPDs. And after you finish your visit, you will go back to the parking and then exit the premises. So this is a typical one for a hospital. So what are the benefits of doing this small user journey exercise? So it helps us understand the pain points of the customer. So it will typically help us in understanding that where is it that the customer is getting halted or the movement is not free. And through the seamless design, we can ensure that the environment is not crowded. And typically in environments like a hospital where there's a lot of tension in the person who's visiting, he does not want to be misguided anywhere. So one more thing is also it will take off a lot of pressure on the support staff. So currently what we saw in the video is that you need to ask if you're not properly guided by the touch points. So a lot of time wastage happens in terms of support staff. So that can be avoided. And like we discussed at the start, the customer today is looking at the entire experience and not just the product. So it will help us in enhancing that entire experience. Now I will quickly go through one of the touch points, which is modular signages. What has happened is modular signages have been around for quite some time. So I think each one of us is aware of the aluminum profiles and the different materials which are used to make modular signages. So today I don't intend to take you through the typical systems, but I intend to take you through what can be the selection criteria when you choose a modular signage or a modular signage supplier. So the first very important part is looking at the functionality. So I would like to look at modular signages as the name suggests. They are made up of different modules. So each module can be connected together to make a signage that you require. So the best example I can cite is of Lego. So in case of Lego, the way you connect blocks and you create an object that you want. So in a modular sign, you will connect the different modules to create the signage that you require. So because of this modular nature, the modular signage is very scalable. So you can create various sizes as per requirement. So if you typically look at the 10,000 plus directories, which is image what you can see, what we created in the last year, none of the designs were same. So each design was unique. Each design you will see a variation. So quality is very important. Durability. So if you look at aluminum as a material, it is very durable. But what is important is what is the alloy that is selected. And also in case of anodizing, is it properly coated? So if all these processes are done properly, then aluminum typically can even have lifelong warranties. So that is durability. Modular signages have a very important feature that you can manufacture them with very high accuracy. So if you look at a system, all the components can be very easily assembled, and connections should be made such that there are no gaps or there are no missing points where you can see that the signage is looking shabby. So that is what I mean by accuracy. Maintenance, so as a simple thing as cleaning the signage. So can you easily clean the signage? Or in case if it is a lit signage, then is it possible that the LEDs or the light source which is used inside, can it be serviced very easily? So those are the factors which are important. One more thing which is happening today is because of globalization, all the brands are present at multiple locations and they scale their operations. So be it hospitals or be it malls or be it different brands. So the availability of the material in the future is very important because these brands want a very uniform presence all across. And then it becomes very important that it is available. And last but not the least, the value for money that the modular signage system can offer. I will take you through a quick installation video which can explain the changeability as well as the ease of manufacturing of a modular signage. Yeah, so I think we could see the assembly, which can be done very quickly, and also the changing which can happen. The next thing which is important is the support. So there are many times when the end customer expects that the signage mapping should be done by the sign maker itself. And that time it is very important that the organization who's supplying modular signages is there to offer you an understanding of which product is correctly suitable, or recommend the sizes which are available in the modular systems. Other than that, I think installation guidance. So I think what we saw before, the guidance in terms of how to connect all the products together, that is important. And in spite of installation guidance, there are sometimes varied challenges which are on site. So I think the on site support also formulates a very important part. One important part is innovation. So in terms of modular signages, there are a lot of improvements which can happen, which come through all the experiences of installations and other challenges that happen. So it is very important to keep improving the system and the quality of the product. Also, what is important is to identify the need of the market. Like when we launched the iSign, that time there was a need in the market for edge-to-edge graphics. So the system came up because of that need. And then there is an ongoing development for new products, which is also important. So if there is innovation, your customer always wants new products. And only with these new products can you have a new offering for them. There is also a after support, which is required post sales, wherein the client has a number of queries after the installation. So I feel it's important that you need a team who can answer all these questions regarding installation, or if there are some challenges in maintenance, and resolving all these on-site issues is very important. I can cite a very nice example for stock levels. So we had once received an order which was for 200 meters, and we delivered the order. And after a few days, we got a call saying that there was a problem from the purchase department, and the order was actually for 200 profiles, which is 1000 meters. But with healthy stock levels, you can deliver these kind of orders very urgently. And I feel that's important in the signage domain, because we all know that this is the last component which comes in a project. And we are always in a rush to deliver and install very quickly. Other than that, I think it's important to have a team with the right knowledge who can assist you any step of the process and inform you about any new products that come up. So I think I will again take you through a very quick poll, but this time it is not a question answer kind of a poll. So this is just an opinion based poll wherein we would come to know about the opinions. I hope everyone can, sorry. Supriya, you'll have to help me
Yes,
with
yes, I'm just
changing the
launching it.
poll.
I'm just launching it.
I'll just, yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, so the question is, which particular aspect that we considered right now in the modular signage would you consider the most important? I think around 40% of have voted. So let's wait for another 10-15 seconds. Okay, I'll just close the poll in another 10 seconds. Yeah, okay, perfect. So okay, yeah, but I think you will be able to see the results on my screen. So I think maximum have voted for functionality, and then comes innovation, then is quality of finish, and then is the after sales support. So this was just idea. Okay, now I will get into the next touch point, which is very upcoming currently. Sorry. Yeah, which is the soft signages. Yeah, so typically, I think before this, a lot of materials like rigid materials like PVC, rigid materials like foam boards, plastics, or even PVC banners have got used traditionally. And it's now that the textile-based substrates are very upcoming. And the soft signages have multiple applications. So as you can be flags, it can be used for exhibitions, it can be used for light box, can be used for banners, art frames. It can be used even for tablecloths, curtains. So there are multiple applications of these fabrics. What is currently the most known or the most used application in India is a light box. So light box is getting a lot used in retails, but of recently I've also seen a lot of this getting used in offices and also getting used at different real estates. So the application is getting wider. And the advantages here is that it is a large format print, which is seamless. The installation is very easy. I will take you through a video quickly for the silicone edge graphic. But what can be done is the printer can simply fold and ship the crease-free material, and it can be received at the retail end, and even their maintenance person can install the fabric. So changing is really easy. And these fabrics also come in different fire ratings. So I feel that it is a very responsible, it will be very responsible to check these ratings, because this will go in a lot of public infrastructure and spaces where a lot of crowd will be there. So according to me, the fire ratings becomes a very important feature to be considered. I will take you through a quick video which gives us a little understanding of the mechanism of a light box.
SEG, short for Silicone Edge Graphics, are stretchable fabric prints with a thin silicone beading sewn into the edge of the graphic. The beading fits with tension into a groove around the perimeter of the framing system. Using a state-of-the-art direct dye sublimation printing process, fabric graphics with 4D visuals are able to display a high definition of color and clarity. SEG graphics are specially designed with a silicone beading sewn into the edge of the graphic that tucks into the channel of the frame. The lightweight frames and light boxes are created with a sturdy aluminum. A simple connector system allows for an ease of assembling and dismantling. Inserting the silicone beading into the recessed groove of a fabric framing system is simple and usually doesn't require professional installation services. The finished result is an upscale, frameless appearance, where the fabric is stretched taut to rival the appearance of rigid substrate signage, without the hassle. The convenience of foldable graphics and collapsible frames reduce the risk of damage during shipping. SEG fabric framing systems are replacing traditional direct printed substrates for large signage applications and events by premium brands and retailers. Silicone edge graphics and fabric framing systems are available in virtually any size and can be wall-mounted, double-sided, ceiling suspended, backlit, or freestanding with support feet to serve as a photo backdrop for events and trade shows. Frame colors in black, white, or silver match the look and feel of their surroundings. Printed and fabricated in any size, the benefits of choosing SEG for your next large-scale signage is an easy choice.
So I think this gave a short idea of how this light box can get made. And like we saw that there are around 3 components which are very essential in the system. And for example, if you're trying to make something as simple as a chart, so I believe that the amount of tamarind, the amount of salt, and the amount of spice, all 3 need to be balanced. And in the same way, in a light box, it's very important to balance all the 3 components, which is textiles, the aluminum profiles, and the LEDs. So it's only with the perfect selection of all the 3 components can you have a light box which is perfect. So I will start with the first one out of these components, which is a textile. So in case of a textile, it is very important that you check the consistency and quality of the textile, because as you're aware that in case there are some inconsistencies, it can damage the printer head and have other challenges in printing. So the quality of the media is very important. What we saw in the video, they had discussed about sublimation, but there are various ink ranges and there are different textiles which are used for different ink ranges. You can also have a different set of textiles for UV. You have a different set of textiles for solvents, eco-solvents, and sublimations. So checking the ink range on which this media can be used is important. Next is the transmission factor. So certain media which are available are complete blockouts, and there are certain brands who are very particular that the blockout has to be 100% blockout. So in that case, there's a coating at the back of the fabric which creates the blockout. And then you have fabrics offering different transmission factors, which you can choose based on what application you intend. Crease free, which I explained as one of the benefits, that if you have a media which is crease free, it can be printed, folded, and shipped. So there are multiple benefits. You can have an overnight delivery because it's a small box against a very large fabric which is rolled. It is easier for the person who's receiving and installing it. And once it is installed, all the creases go away. So according to me, this is one of the important factors. And then we had looked into fire retardancy. So this is also typically mentioned for different medias, that what is the fire retardancy. If we go into aluminum profiles which are used for the fabrics, it is important to check that what is the strength of the profile. Is the strength enough for the size that you are intending to build? And this will depend on two factors. One is the proper selection of the alloy, and it will depend on the different wall thicknesses or the design of the profile. There are wide selection of profiles which are available. So there is a different profile for non-lit, which goes on a wall. There's a different profile for lit with different depths. And the idea is that depending on the light source that you choose, the depth needs to be chosen according to that. There is also a variant of single and double-sided. So if you want to make a standee like the one in this picture, you will require a double-sided box. Or if you want to make a suspended one, you will require a double-sided, and all others can go single-sided. And then, of course, what is important is to check the quality or the surface finish. I will discuss different factors which need to be considered in LEDs. If you look at a LED, one of the very important factors is the binning. So the LEDs are classified based on the bin, or the narrower the bin, the more accurate the LED color temperature will be. So if you have a narrow binned LED, your signage will look uniform. So you will not have certain part which is yellow, certain which is blue, and certain which is white. So it will have a very uniform look with narrow binning. Then is the choice of the color temperature. So the color temperature can be chosen based on where the signage needs to be installed. So if the ambience is where they want to go to a warmer white, or they want a bright white where it's a point of purchase. So based on that, you need to choose the color temperature of the LEDs. I think efficacy is one of the factors which is really not considered today. And according to me, it is highly important. So we typically are used to asking what is the wattage of a LED. But for me, that is typically a consumption. And what is more important is how much the LED will consume in order to give its output, which is the lumens. So the higher the efficacy, higher the efficacy the LED has, it is more giving you a higher output. So that is the right choice that you need to make. So in the market today, the efficacies are available above 100, and certain even have efficacies up to 140. So this is an important characteristic to look for. Then is the product warranties, the number of years that the product is warranted, and the different approvals. I will also take you through a very important aspect when you select the LEDs, which is the cost of ownership. So we only consider the first part, which is the purchase price, which is the price of the LEDs and the price of the power supply that is utilized. But other than that, there are various costs which are also becoming a part of the project. So the second cost is the installation cost. If the lumen output is better, so the number of LEDs required will be lesser. and lesser LEDs covering a more area, your installation costs get better. Or if you use edgelit for a box with one of the sides having the width of lesser than a meter, then edgelets also reduce your installation cost by a substantial amount. The next which comes is the power consumption. So which I was highlighting before, the efficacy, the consumption for the output required. So it's important that we gauge that. And finally, it is the maintenance cost. So the maintenance cost here, what will be important is what is the warranty of the product. So do you need to replace the product? How soon do you need to replace it? Do you need to maintain the power supply? So all these costs will come in the maintenance. So if we take a complete total of all these factors, that is how we need to calculate what is the cost of ownership of these LEDs. I will quickly take you through a final poll.
I'm just launching it.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So in this, the question is, which of these LED module characteristics is not required to calculate the cost of ownership? So there's only one answer. All the rest of the characteristics are the required ones. So Supriya, should we keep it open for 10 more seconds?
Okay.
You would
I'll do.
close it.
Okay, so we're ending the poll now.
Yeah. Okay, so it's good to see that the correct answer has got most of the options. Just to quickly take you through the cost of the LED modules and the cost of the power supply. This will be considered in the purchase price, which is a part of the cost of the ownership. Efficacy, which is the lumen output per watt, as well as the wattage, both will be used in the running cost, which will define the power consumption. And the life of the module or the warranty will come in the maintenance part, wherein this is the factor which will decide how soon you will have to replace the LEDs. So beam angle, this factor will be more typically used to decide the depth of the light box that you choose. Okay, so this is interesting new light boxes, fabric boxes which we created. So as you can see, the first one is a hexagon shape, and this is another shape. So with very good quality CNC saws, these profiles can be cut at different angles. And other than your typical square or rectangle, you can also be creative and make some different shapes. So just to summarize quickly the presentation that I took you all through, we went through the user journey mapping, the technique, and how it helps us identifying the touch points. We also saw that modular signage systems, what are the key points that you need to look for when you're choosing these. And finally, we looked at the 3 components essential for the soft signage and creating the perfect light box. So I think I would like to end my presentation here, and Supriya, I would like to start taking the questions.
Yeah, sure. We'll just start doing that. We have got a lot of questions on Q&A, as well as a lot of people are raising hand. Like we had asked certain participants to send their questions in advance. So I'll just quickly let you know the 3 main questions that we got yesterday. So you can take them up, and then we'll move on to the live question answer round. Okay, so the first question has been asked by Mr. Prakash Chopra from Arrow Digital.
Mhm.
He has asked, looking at the current perspective, where do you see soft signage market in 2020?
Okay, so to answer this question, there was a statistics wherein the retail segment would have gone to 1.1 trillion US dollars. We will have to, of course, revise the statistics because of the current global situation. But in spite of that, if this is the share in the retail segment, and only 10% of this is supposed to be online. So there is a very huge scope of fabric light boxes. And other than that, there are a lot of unexplored options, which I also shared in fabrics. So it will slowly eventually get into your banners, your exhibition stands, pop-up displays, flags, and that is where it will get even wider. So I feel there'll be an increasing fabrics that we will see.
Okay, great. The next question is from Mr. Shiv Karthik. He has asked that, right now with flex being the most preferred media, and
Mhm.
a lot of states have been permitting flex banners, isn't soft signage going to be a minuscule share in the market?
I would somewhere agree that currently it is still a very small portion, and what we're seeing is, like you say, is the tip of the iceberg. So considering also the price factors, the technology is still developing in a lot of domains. So yes, currently the share is very small. But what we see in the future is that this share is going to go on increasing as we move ahead.
Okay, great. The next question from Mr. Sanjeev Sharma. He is from Rising Sun Enterprises. So he has just said, first, I'll just put across a statement. He said the only challenge in soft signage is how to fabricate the structure in effective manner for
Mhm.
different applications. In
Right.
case we have to fabricate for indoor, then we have several options like aluminum fabric frames. But
Right.
challenge comes when it is for outdoor. So
Right.
what all options do you suggest to go for outdoor soft signs for backlit as well as non-lit?
Okay. So if I have to answer this, all the polyester fabrics which are available today in the market, the 100% polyesters, they are mostly for the indoors. And there's still a lot of development which is ongoing in terms of providing warranties if this polyester fabrics are used for the outdoors. So as this grows, there are another two more challenges wherein the maximum width available is 5 meters currently for the polyester media, and seaming the way you do in your flex is also something which is getting developed in the industry. So my answer is that currently, yes, there are no very precise systems to work in the outdoors, but there's a lot of work and testing happening in the outdoors. And in the near future, we will have certain aluminum systems itself, which can hold fabric up to large sizes in the outdoors.
Okay, fine. So, Tejas, now we can shift to the Q&A section. Like,
Okay,
how would you like to go about it? Well, like, do you want to go through the questions and answer them yourself? You
sure,
can take up all the important questions then.
sure.
Okay.
Uh, Supriya, I'm not able to see who has asked, I think. Okay. Yeah, yeah,
It's,
sorry. I've got it. Yeah.
yeah.
So, okay. Okay. Supriya, I think I will have to request the person sometimes to explain the question a
Okay,
little
so what
more
we
in
can do
detail.
is we can take up questions. We can ask the participants to raise their hands, and we can, let them ask you directly. Will
Yes,
that be
that will
better?
be, yes, that will be
Okay,
better
so
because some questions
let's
you're not able to
right,
understand what
right, right.
exactly they.
So, okay, so the first participant is Mr. Devendra Shah. Mr. Shah, you are on unmute now, and you can please ask your question. Mr. Devendra Shah. I think he's not there. Okay, Mr. Devesh Mishra.
Mhm.
Mr. Devesh Mishra, you can ask your question, please.
Till then, can I take a few questions which are
Yes,
quite
yes,
self-explanatory?
yes,
So I
yes,
think
yes.
Mr. Raghu GS is asking that what is the minimum depth for a light box? So to answer this question, if you're going for non-lit, then there are light boxes which are as thin as 15 mm. And like I discussed before, that the depth of the light box will essentially depend on the choice of LEDs. So nowadays, we also have LEDs which are capable of having a backlight possible in a depth as low as 25 mm. So I think that should be the least. And then you have depths which go on increasing 50 mm, 75, 100 and beyond. So the answer would be, it will depend on the light source that you choose.
Okay, I think Mr. Devendra Shah, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay,
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Desha.
Yes, sir.
Yes, my question is you answered just now. What is the depth required?
Yes.
That you require. No more question answer now.
Okay.
Okay, okay, great, sir. Mr. Devesh Mishra?
हेलो
Yeah,
Hello.
Mr. Mishra.
नमस्कार मैम, देवेश मिश्रा मैं बोल रहा हूँ। मैं आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
Yes, sir. आ रही है आवाज।
मैम मुझे मतलब जानना है, अपने छोटा शहर है मेरा, यहाँ पर इतने कॉस्टली साइनेजेस इस्तेमाल नहीं करते हैं लोग, अफोर्ड नहीं कर पाते हैं असल में। मैं कई सारे हॉस्पिटलों में और कई जगहों पे मैंने इसको मतलब लोगों को दिखाया, मेरे पास आपकी किट भी है, बट लोगों ने केवल इसलिए मुझे मना कर दिया कि बहुत ज्यादा कॉस्टली है। क्या हमारे पास ऐसा ऑप्शन नहीं है कि हम अपना कोई सस्ता ऑप्शन इसमें इस्तेमाल कर सकें मॉड्यूलर साइनेज में?
अच्छा, मॉड्यूलर साइनेज में। ओके।
जी हाँ।
अच्छा सर, अगर आप मॉड्यूलर साइनेज देखते हैं तो उसमें काफी सिस्टम्स है। तो कुछ सिस्टम्स जैसे एज टू एज ग्राफिक वाले सिस्टम्स है, वो काफी कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव है। जैसे आइसन एक प्रोडक्ट है, तो उसमें आप एक फोम बोर्ड से लेकर एक्रेलिक या फिर एसीपी शीट, ये सब आप लगा पाते हैं। तो दैट प्रोडक्ट विल गो इन द कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव रेंज। तो मेरा सजेशन ये है कि अगर आप स्पेसिफिक रिक्वायरमेंट है तो इफ यू कैन सेंड इट टू आवर टीम, तो फिर एक वर्किंग करके दे सकते हैं। लेकिन मॉड्यूलर साइनेज में भी कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव प्रोडक्ट्स है। टू आंसर योर क्वेश्चन।
अच्छा मैम, एक चीज और कहना चाह रहा था मैं, जो अभी आपने जो अपना पूरा जो ब्यौरा दिया है, अपनी वीडियो और जो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग हुई है अभी हमारे बीच में, क्या मुझे इसका वीडियो ऑनलाइन मिल सकता है या मुझे लिंक देंगे आप इसके लिए कुछ, ताकि एज ए मतलब ट्यूशन मेरे काम आए?
Definitely. Supriya, how will we be sharing it?
Yes, actually, after the session ends, we'll be sending them a mail in which there will be email IDs and other information. So they can revert on that.
Okay.
So that won't be an issue.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, Ms. Dr. Balakrishnan. Dr. Balakrishnan, you may ask your question now. Please unmute from your end also, sir.
I think I can see the question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Does the cost percentage differ significantly when you change the binning size?
It will change. See, if you look at the LED segment today, so we have certain A brands which are positioned globally. Then we have certain brands which are giving quality but in a cost-effective manner. And then we have the other brands which are more common. So I would say that the binning will be the best for the A and B category. And it will go on reducing as you select a product which is in the other segment. So if you are talking about a cost percentage, I think there should be around a 30-40% cost difference.
Oh, that's significant. Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Rajesh Chaube. Mr. Chaube, please unmute from your end and you can ask the question. Mr. Chaube isn't there, I think.
Yeah, I cannot even find the question on the chat.
Yes, he's.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Chaube. Yeah. Please.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. कैसे?
Very fine, sir.
मैं अभी तो आपका यूज कर रहा हूँ.
Yes.
तो ऐसा कोई प्रॉब्लम नजर नहीं आ रहा. मेरे को थोड़ा सा ना आपके जो एसेसरीज होती है ना, जो कॉर्नर्स हुए, जो जॉइंटर हुए,
हाँ.
ये मेरे को बहुत एक्सपेंसिव पड़ते हैं, जबकि वो इतनी वर्थ नहीं रखते। मतलब मैंने अभी आपसे आई साइन बुलवाया था ना, उसके कॉर्नर्स जॉइंटर जो थे, मैंने यहाँ मेरे पास में लेजर भी है,
Right.
फाइबर लेजर, तो मैंने उससे काट के करा, तो मेरे को टू मच डिफरेंस लगा आपकी प्राइसिंग में और इसमें। तो क्यों ऐसा पॉसिबल? क्योंकि क्या होता है ना, जैसे मैंने तो उसका सॉल्यूशन निकाल लिया, ये
Right.
हमारे अगर एंड यूजर को हम जब देते हैं ना, तो ये बहुत एक्सपेंसिव हो जाता है। मतलब 36 रुपीज का कॉर्नर टू मच है।
Okay. So actually, the challenge is कि जो process select किया है वो corner बनाने के लिए, that is ensuring a perfect 45-degree match. But having said that, I will also
देखो,
take a suggestion.
मैंने आपके आई साइन में वही कॉर्नर जो मैंने फाइबर लेजर पे काट के बनाया, और बढ़िया लगे, इंस्टॉल भी हो गए सारे।
Okay. I
तो
will also take this
मुझे
point
ये
as a
बिल्कुल भी
suggestion.
परेशानी नहीं आई। थोड़ा सा मेरा शुरू से कहना है कि थोड़ा सा ये कॉर्नर्स पे वर्किंग करो ना, क्योंकि क्या प्रोफाइल में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है।
Right.
मुझे क्या होता है, अगर मान लो 8 इंच बाय 4 इंच का अगर मैं एक आई साइन का एक प्लेट बनाता हूँ,
Right.
तो 36 into 4
Yeah, I can understand.
144 रुपीज कॉर्नर की कॉस्ट हो रही है।
So what I can do is I've made a note about it, because मैंने जो innovation का slide discuss किया था, जिसमें continuous product improvement था, so I will ensure that we work on this as a product improvement, and I am hopeful that I will get back to you soon with some changes.
मैं अभी ना एक आपको भेज
Hello.
Yes sir, you are not audible.
हाँ.
आप एक बार अपना प्लीज चेक करेंगे माइक। I think network issue.
Lost. Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. We'll take up the question later. Next is Mr. Sandeep Bhutani.
Yeah.
Mr. Bhutani, you may ask your question, please. Mr. Sandeep Bhutani, please unmute from your end also.
One second. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Can you listen me, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Very good afternoon.
See, ma'am, how do you see UPVC profiles competing with aluminium, as in other industries like doors and windows, for this soft-sided business?
Yes, they are upcoming, and very honestly, for the smaller sizes, I will slowly see that yes, they will get more used. But if you're talking about the larger sizes, I still see aluminum there, because it will have more strength. So like we developed currently a suspended signage which was close to 10 meters by 750 mm, something like that. So for that kind of sizes, aluminum will still persist. But yes, having said that, like you rightly said, for the smaller sizes, slowly we will see UPVC taking up.
And what's the price comparison between a UPVC profile and aluminum comparatively same profile? Because I see majority of the signages are within the manageable sizes. Like
Correct.
if you see a door which is a maximum 2 meters high, our signages for indoor are also falls in the same bracket.
Right, right. Sir, I will have to check this, because we have really not looked into the UPVC. So I will make a note and I will take your number, and we will ensure that we get back to you. Because currently we are not working in the UPVC domain.
And what about, and one more question I wanted to ask, what are how are you imparting the education to to basically, you told that maintenance staff can easily change the soft signage. What I feel, I have been working with the soft signage. What I feel, people, they generally take prints from us, and manually the labor, they will apply the silicone beading at site with the double side tapes. They are still not very much educated.
Yes.
So have your
Yes.
company started some field courses or some education for this kind of this installation or what you can say is the fabricators?
Yes. So I think what we're doing is multiple spaces to increase this education. You saw one of our videos during the presentation. So we are trying to create similar videos is one step. And secondly, I think there is a lot of limited knowledge regarding the selection of the fabric. Like you said that people are just pasting the silicone. So only certain fabrics you can do that. And most of the fabrics currently available in the market need to be stitched. So I think an increasing awareness with the people we come in touch with for the product specifications and how to utilize the product. So we will also be preparing some guidelines and the videos. So I think that is how we will be sharing it. And one more
Thank you, ma'am.
We have a team which is operating pan-India. So we have tried to cover most of the segments wherein the on-site support as well as the support which is required in the office, I think we should be reachable to most of the locations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bhatani.
Yeah.
Okay, next we'll move on to the Q&A section. So
Sure.
we'll just take up questions one by one. So the next question is from Mr. Aya Ahmed. He's asking, what is the recommended lumens for a fabric light box?
This is a very tricky question because it really depends on what the ambience lighting is. So this cannot be answered by one number. But this is typically taken care by different architectural firms, wherein they will see that what is the lighting which they propose in that environment and how much bold they want the signage to be. It also depends on culture, weirdly. So if you look at Europe, they have something which is called as light pollution. And they have a certain level beyond which they do not want the brightness of the signages around. And it is exactly reverse here, wherein we want more brighter signages. So it will really depend on the specific environment as well as the specific requirement. I hope this answers your question.
Okay. Okay, so the next question is from Mr. Yogesh Gogate. He is asked, do you see shift from existing practice to soft signage in coming years?
Yes, I think I shortly answered this before.
Yes,
I think, so I think with the applications in soft signage getting wider away from the light box, and also more and more people accepting it as an environment friendly medium, there will be an increase in the soft signages in the near future. So I think Europe and other markets have already gone there, and it's just the start in India, I think.
Okay, Mr. Varun Behel has an interesting question. He's asking, just want to know how about animations or any light effects in fabric boxes?
Yeah, so I think it is very upcoming. What we can see is there are LED grids or different kinds of LEDs which can be installed in a fabric box. And then there are different microprocessors which can switch on the lights, and even dimming effects are possible. So using the specific microcontrollers as well as these LEDs, yes, there is a possibility of animation in these fabric boxes as well.
Okay, Mr. KL Sharma is asking, what is the maximum width of this fabric for outdoor use?
Currently, there are no tested outdoor fabrics which are recommended by the top brands right now. But having said that, for the indoors, maximum width available today is 5 meters. But even if you look at it today, the printers who can offer the 5-meter width are quite limited. So like I said, this industry will slowly expand and grow into the requirement for the outdoors.
Right. A lot of people actually have this question on outdoors. Mr. Shubham Sharma is also asking the same thing. He's saying that can we use the same in India because of the outdoors and like the temperature in India? And because customer normally wants a warranty of more than 5 years.
Correct. So currently what is happening is these indoor fabrics people are using in the outdoors for limited application where the changes are frequent. So if you look at the malls, there are different fabric boxes just in the exterior of the mall. But there the changes are more frequent. So for the 5-year period, no, currently there are no polyesters to sustain that. But we have to see slowly where the development goes. But indoor fabrics you can safely use outdoors where the changes are 3 months, 4 months, or we've even changed it up to 6 months.
Okay. Mr. Sri Kumar V is asking whether the cost of aluminum signs is going to reduce in the years to come.
Okay. I think if you look at, I will have to answer this a little from my perspective. So if you look at Cosign, almost 80% of our profiles get manufactured in India. And if you look at the global rates of aluminum, they are very common across the world. So as far as the profiles go, there will be some minor optimizations depending on the rate changes in aluminum. But I do see a major change in the accessories which will happen. So like we had a question before regarding the accessory prices being a little higher. So I see a little step down in that part. But if you look at the aluminum part, we are quite optimized in terms of the pricing right now.
Okay, and the next question is on sustainability. So
Okay.
Mr. S.A. Farid is asking that, since sustainability is taking a prime spot of discussion in every industry, how do you see the recyclability and sustainability in signage industry?
Okay, I will answer it from both the perspectives. So if you look at modular signages, aluminum, as we all know, that it can be recycled and it can be reformed into billets and it can get reused. So if you look at the aspect of environmental friendly, aluminum stands a very good holding there. And if you talk about the second aspect, which I cover, the fabric signages, the fabric media itself is coming in 100% polyester, which is recyclable again. So I think both these will be more sustainable in terms of the future, what we see in signages.
Okay. Mr. Faisal Shakir has asked, please share the average market operating cost for a soft signage light box per square meter.
Okay. I feel again, the three components which I explained, there's a wide variety of products available in all these three components. So if you look at LEDs, we have various brands offering various warranties and various efficacies. So the price range of all the three available products is very varied. And also the print technology that you use. So for example, if you're using an eco solvent or you're using a UV or you're using a sublimation, that will also decide the price of the light box. So to answer your question, I feel it is first important to understand and make the customer aware that what are the specifications that he's going to compare. So is it a 5-year warranty LED or a 7-year-old warranty LED against a UV print on a good alloy and strength box of 3 inches? So, the price will vary with all these factors. So please make the customer aware and get the specs very crisp. So the comparison which happens will be apple to apple. I hope I've answered the question.
Yeah, we hope so too. Next is Mr. Bipin Mirajkar. He is asking, can we use this fabric for the ceiling? And what should be the size of the side runner?
Okay. For ceiling, if you look at fabric, there is one particular feature, which is the stretchability. So if you look at the ceiling fabrics, they come with a little higher stretch factor. So I feel the first suggestion is when you're making the choice of the media, be very careful there. And secondly, there are also certain fabric media which have a heat treatment so that the ceiling does not kind of sag in the future. So the right choice of the fabric media, and then depending on the size of the ceiling that you intend to cover, you will have to choose the side box, which can either be 2 inches, 3 inches or 4 inches, depending on what size of ceiling you intend to cover. So if you can send me a specific question, I could send back the requirements for it.
Okay. You can do the same like on the email that we'll share with you. So you can just ask the question. Next is Mr. Anshuman Arora. He's asking, the sewing of silicone tape on fabric is still a cumbersome process for businesses who do not have large volumes for soft signages. What do you recommend for the above?
Right. I agree. Currently what is happening is there are different sewing machines which are typically used for doing this. We also heard someone sharing that people are trying to do that with the reverse tape, but very honestly it doesn't work with if you just paste it and put it up. So for this technology it is very essential to sew the silicone edge. My suggestion is there are different machines starting from the basic that are even used in garments, which can be used to stitch this. So it will be one of the essential components.
Okay. Next is Mr. Akash Jain. He's asking, do you have any aluminium profile for making fascia of bank signage, because it has a different large size compatible with flex? Because yeah, did you get
Right.
the question?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think currently, if you look at the banks, like we discussed, that since fabric is still evolving in terms of large format and outdoor, so the option which they are currently using is flex. So yes, we do have certain flex system, which is with our Belgium head office, and we can share further details if we get a mail, please, regarding it. We have not yet commercialized that or started putting that up in our Indian catalog. But we could assist with that.
Okay, next is Mr. Nagender. He's asking, innovative graphic is very vital in modular signages. Can you guide us any graphic friendly guidelines for background graphic?
Okay. This is a very interesting question, because what happens is people have this mind block that modular will be very typical. Modular will, look the same in most of the projects. So how can you classify it? So I feel that there are different systems which have the option of various medias that is possible. So if you look at the basic flat panel system, you can do a vinyl cut paste application. You can do a direct flatbed printing on it. You can do engraving and color filling option on it. So all these options will give you a lot of variety in terms of the look of the signage. So I feel the key here is to consider modular signage as a Lego system, and build it in the right format and the right selection of materials and graphic. So yes, it will happen case to case. So if you have certain requirements where we can assist, we would like to do so in terms of design of the system.
Okay. The next question is from Mr. Vishnu Vardhan. He's asking, what is the best media for silicon edge graphic for Lightbox? Whether 100% polyester works, and the minimum GSM required for this.
Okay. So in case of fabrics which are there currently, the soft signage which we are discussing, all of that is 100% polyester. So that is what we will have to consider. And to answer the second question, the thickness of the fabric. In case of fabrics, weirdly, the thinner that you go, the fabric becomes more expensive.
I think there is some network issue. So I would just ask all of you to wait for a couple of minutes, please.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So I think I was answering about the thickness of the fabric.
Right.
So like I said, I feel that if you go more than 170, that is a good one for UV. And for sublimation, of course, the fabrics which are available are thicker. So it also will depend on the ink range. But if you go lesser than that, then the price increases. And I don't see any particular benefit for that.
Okay. Next, like we'll just take some audio questions.
Sure.
Mr. Deepen Mehta. Mr. Mehta, you may ask your question now.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Very good afternoon, sir.
In just 2 or 5 minutes back, you said 100% polyester fabric, which is recyclable.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any test reports for that? Which says it is recyclable.
Yes, yeah, I can share those. So if I can get your mail.
Please read it again. It may not be recyclable. It is just PVC free.
It is recyclable, sir, actually.
How does it get recycled?
There are different factories which, I mean, we work with OEM arrangements. So the OEM arrangement in-house, we have a facility wherein it can get recycled.
It cannot.
Okay, I will try to arrange
tomorrow I'm talking on this same subject.
Okay.
So you can, in the meantime, you can correct your knowledge. This is just to the viewer that none of the coated polyester available in India is recyclable.
I will parallelly also try to arrange the certification.
I would like to talk to you later also on this to educate it in better way. So in such a webinar, no wrong input should go from your side.
Okay, but at the same time, I will also share what information we have regarding recycling.
Because I have gone through 8 to 10 test reports of the various fabric manufacturers, and none of them says as recyclable.
So what we can do better is
Kerala government has banned polyester fabric also.
Okay, surely what I can do is I'll share.
Please.
Tejasa, are you there? Yes, some network issue from your end, I think.
No, but I think I'll share the report so he can just check it.
Yes, we can do that. Okay, next is Mr. Kamlesh Shah. Mr. Shah, you may ask your question.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Do you provide the sample kits on a chargeable basis?
Yes, sir. We have a kit for the modular signage systems. So wherein we have different kinds of variants for the indoors, which are well organized in terms of layers. And these will come in a format wherein we can also provide the graphic, or you can take care of the graphic as per your customer taste.
Okay.
So you can
share to our place.
Yes, sir. Definitely. So if you can take up your mail ID, I will share you some pictures of the demo kit which is available, and that can better, you can have a look at it and take a call.
And also, instead of aluminum, can we use some other metal which is lighter, sturdier, and more economical?
Currently, the modular signage systems which we are dealing with have been chosen in aluminum because it is recyclable. It is lightweight compared to the other metals, and it can be easily extruded in profiles. Also, aluminum does not rust. So with all these features, currently aluminum is moving to become the more choice in terms of modular signages. But yes, there are certain researches happening on one or two other metals, but they have not yet come out as modular signages.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll take one more question from audio section. Mr. Hansraj. Mr. Hansraj, you may ask your question, please.
How you see the future market compared to acrylic signages with the printing signages?
So can you please repeat your question? So you mean to say a comparison between the acrylic signages and the modular?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What I feel is there are certain features of modular signages which are more usable compared to the acrylics, like the changeability and the uniformity with which every product which can be composed. So all this is possible. But having said that, yes, the customization which is possible will be higher in media like acrylic. So depending on the choice of where it has to get installed, modular will have a higher edge because of the features.
Can we say that modular will overcome with compared to acrylic signages, cutting and all those?
In certain environments like hospitals, I have seen that yes, it is. But it is based on environment. So if you look at typically hospitality, they're more towards customization. So they will use more varied materials compared to modular. But if you look at a channel like public infrastructure and hospitals, yes, they're moving more towards modular. So I think it is more segment specific.
I'm specifically asking for outdoors.
For outdoors. Okay, so for outdoors, again, the construction is quicker if you use a modular system. So let's take an example of a totem. So if you have to construct a totem with the aluminum profiles, the time required to do that, and further the ease in terms of maintenance, because the panels can be removed or replaced. So that will be higher in terms of the modular signages. But vice versa, if you make a signage in ACP or you have a MS on which the ACP is cladded, so the construction time is more. Secondly, the perfection, if you have to make multiple signages, that is different, and the maintenance. So all these factors will be a little higher in modular even for the outdoors.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hansraj. Okay, from the Q&A section, one question from Mr. Frankie Suri. He's asking, how are the possibilities to form a curved shape or a circle shape of the profiles like iSign and fabrics? In fact, I think a lot of people have this question.
Okay. There is definitely a possibility of having curved, so a circular kind of a fabric system. We are currently working on our first project for the curved one, which has got approvals. So very hopefully soon, we will also be able to offer the bending that is necessary. So aluminum profiles can be bent into required circular shapes, but we are currently in the process of making it more generic. So we have worked only on one project, but yes, in the future, it should definitely be possible.
Okay, last question. Actually, there are so many questions everywhere, but we are like short on time. Last question from Mr. Phanendra Kumar.
Yeah.
Mr. Kumar, yeah, you can ask a question.
I know this is too much of a layman question, but just trying to check if you guys can actually help us in the print and the silicone stitching from Cosign India as well.
Surely. Sir, if you can share your details, so we will first try to make the correct choice of the product for you. And then parallelly, we can guide you in terms of how we can set up the entire process. That's definitely possible.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Request you to put across your details so that we can get in touch.
I'll do that right away.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. Okay, a lot of people are asking this question, so I'll just answer it here only. Like people want to know whether this video will be available live, like recorded version of this will be available anywhere. Yes, it's being recorded, being broadcasted live on Facebook. So you can refer to the video over there as well. And all your queries will be answered by Ms. Tejasa. We'll share an email with you later after the session, and you may ask your questions on the email ID that will be given there. So I hope we can't take up all the questions because of obviously paucity of time. Ms. Tejasa, you want to say something?
No, I think I'll be more than glad to answer the questions. So if you can just formulate and send them, so we will respond back. And again, I'd like to thank all the participants for connecting and sparing the time today.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Tejasa, for this insightful session. And I hope all the attendees will be joining for tomorrow's session also. Tomorrow's session is by Mr. Deepen Mehta. He's the Director of Universal Products. So the registration process will be the same as today. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow as well. Thank you.
Dear attendees, I have one thing to say. I've just got a test report from someone from the group itself, and they say the polyester fabric is recyclable. We will also share the test report with everyone so that any doubts anyone have, they can clear it.
I will, perfect. And even I will do that. So even I will share our report with you. So you can also share it.
There may be different views from different people. Let's see what is, because here we are working for the betterment of the industry. Let's see what is the final conclusion is. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all the attendees. Thank you, Tejasa.
Thank you so much.